world's roads have never been busier. All across the globe, we know bad driving leads to accidents. An upsurge in onboard cameras reveals extraordinary escapes. From Siberia to South Africa, Paris to the Philippines. There are thousands of unexpected events and compelling close calls. Be it on 4 wheels, 2 wheels, or even off-road. They're filmed through the eyes of the people who lived to tell the story. It's life on the world's roads as we've never seen it before. There are thought to be over 1.2 billion vehicles on the world's roads. And that figure is set to rise to 2 billion by 2035. With so many drivers, there are all kinds of accidents taking place on our roads. Whether it's down to an angry animal, a rogue tuk-tuk, or an icy road. At any time across the globe, some unexpected drama might be about to play out. These pedestrians in the Ural mountain city of Berezniki had one hell of a lucky escape. Like this one, most accidents are down to driver error. But sometimes, they're just hard to explain. Let's go to the Russian city of Vladivostok. It looks like just any ordinary day. Although look carefully, and there appears to be something strange on the road. It couldn't cause that much damage, could it? Unbelievably, the broken electricity lines entangled the passing car and lifted up into the air. Like everyone we're about to see in this program, the driver of the car escaped without serious injury. It turned out a crane operator tore the lines with his jib and fled without warning. With a population of over 1.3 billion, China has more people than any other country on Earth. It's therefore not a surprise that it's the world's biggest car market. And it's growing at a rapid pace. It's believed there were just 24 million cars in China in 2003. But just a decade later, that number has increased to 137 million. But more vehicles on the road equals more crashes. China has a road network of almost 4.5 million kilometers long, the equivalent of almost 12 trips to the moon. And it's become one of the most dangerous in the world. Since 2010, China has added more than 20 million new drivers each year. But the sudden upsurge in new license holders means that there are some dodgy drivers out there. When you live in such a big country, people get around in a variety of ways. For some, it's a gold Mercedes-Benz. For others, more humble means. Yes, this really is a man on a cart being pulled by a little dog. But this dog isn't the only unusual animal form of transport. This fella likes to use a pig. It's perhaps not a surprise some people might use them for transport, when you consider over half of the world's pigs live in China. But on the roads, with all the different vehicles, there are a whole variety of accidents. They can involve electric tricycles and motorbikes, cars and lorries, even loose tires. But maybe strangest of all, mobile homes. This footage caught the moment this lorry turned right, and the little house proved it's a bit too mobile. A different angle shows how it could have been much worse, with the people next to the white car making a lucky escape. It must have been quite a shock for the owner of this car when they returned to their vehicle. Eventually, a crane helped remove the home. It's always a good idea to check the weather conditions before driving. Heavy rain and flooding in particular can make a journey hazardous. When there are large puddles on the road and you can't see what's beneath the surface, it might be best to avoid them. This Polish cyclist found that out the hard way. You'd have thought that most car drivers would know they can't actually drive over deep water. Although try telling that to these fellas in Russia. What on earth do you think you're doing? It might be an off-road car, but when for some reason they decided to try and drive over a lake, they soon discovered it's not actually possible. Water can ruin our vehicles' engines and electrical systems. This driver in Texas was probably wise not to take this flooded road on. But some aren't so cautious. This Chinese truck driver should win an award for determination. Despite being almost submerged, he continues on. At least he's got his windscreen wipers on. Remarkably, the truck emerges, seemingly unscathed. It's one thing taking on standing water, but what if you're faced with flash flooding? In the US, flash flooding is the #1 weather-related cause of deaths. The biggest danger comes when people are trapped inside their cars. On a highway in the Waldo Canyon area of Colorado, one driver discovered firsthand the power of an extremely muddy flood.
Oh my God. Wow. Oh my God.
Utterly powerless, his car was swept off the road and left drifting towards rocks and telegraph poles. He had no idea where he would end up. The torrent was so strong because it hit an area still recovering from forest fires. The soil that would normally absorb the water was charred, meaning any sudden downpours could lead to this flooding. As the water ran downhill, it picked up rocks, mud, and all kinds of debris, giving this guy a front row seat to this muddy mess. After bouncing around, his vehicle eventually became stuck and he escaped unharmed. The same can't be said for his car. Coming up, we check out some of the world's angriest drivers and find out what happens next during this Russian man's drive in the countryside. We're going around the world looking at the craziest crashes and luckiest escapes. As we've seen, you never know what might happen. The people in this car in China couldn't have predicted what they would witness. Seeing this dramatic crash, their reaction is understandably one of concern. Fortunately, when this out-of-control lorry crashed into an empty car on the hard shoulder of a Chinese motorway, no one was hurt. But when it comes to more innocuous accidents, some make us confused.
Why?
Bewildered.
Yo, what are you doing?
While others just relieved we're not involved.
Guess you're not driving the Ferrari. Jesus Christ.
That's not good. That guy has to pay for that now.
But wherever you are in the world, often road incidents make us mad. Who knows what these guys are doing? Generally, we might shout, use the horn, or make hand gestures. But sometimes they can really escalate. Even on the move, people lash out. The passenger in this car threw a meat cleaver at a vehicle they were in dispute with. And check out this scooter rider. He gesticulates at one crossing pedestrian. Riled up, the next time someone passes too close, he kicks out. This fella really needs some anger management. Road rage has become a serious issue in China. In 2015, Chinese police handled over 17 million cases of road rage. And each year, that figure is growing. The big problem with entering into a road argument is that you never know what the other person has hidden in their boot. The dashboard camera on this car captured a dispute over who had right of way. What started as a verbal argument took a dramatic turn when the man on the phone went to his boot and grabbed a machete. Understandably, the other guy made a quick retreat, but that didn't stop Machete Man. Fortunately, the driver wasn't seriously hurt, while the attacker later handed himself into police. If you think a machete can cause damage, then what about a tractor? This man went on the rampage in the northwest of the country, using his tractor to smash up various cars. This probably isn't exactly what a tractor was designed to do. Fortunately, no one was injured in the incident. The driver was later found and arrested by police. It's easy to think the roads are just a place full of anger. But sometimes, after a collision, just when you expect someone to lose their rag, they surprise you.
Okay. Yeah, that was good. Yeah, I know, right? Well, happy Wednesday.
Tank, let's go.
Pet owners will know it can sometimes be hard to get the dog out of the car,
Tank, out of the car.
or that they can be very impatient if waiting for you to return. But around the world, wild animals can be a major problem for motorists. Whether it's a colony of bees stopping this man get in his car, or having a snake hiding in your engine. At least in China, there seems to be a fire officer with a mop ready to help.
Okay, so he just climbed right up on my car.
But perhaps the award for most stubborn animal goes to this ram in Canada.
Lindsay, my insurance does not cover ram damage. Lindsay! Throw it off the car!
In some areas of Colorado, a quarter of all accidents involve wildlife. This longboarder was lucky to escape with only minor injuries after colliding with a deer. Driving along, you might just see one of the 1.3 billion cows in the world grazing at the side of the road. You just hope that's as close as they come. This driver thought he was going for a normal ride in a remote part of the Russian countryside. He never expected to disturb an intimate bovine moment. Luckily, the cow was unharmed. And it seemed her mate was keen to get back to business. With the average cow weighing over 90 stone, it's not a huge surprise this car suffered some hefty damage. They should probably choose somewhere more private next time. We've all seen vehicles on the road that really shouldn't be there. Hopefully, this car is on its way to the scrapyard. But sometimes, whatever the condition of their ride, people will continue to drive. Here are our top 5 most unroadworthy vehicles. At 5, here's a truck loaded with a large crane, except it doesn't appear to have a roof. Well, at least the driver has a pink helmet on. The crane on the truck apparently slid forward, smashing off the cab roof, creating this rather unique open-top vehicle. Not got a steering wheel? No worries. This fella has a spanner. Yep, that's right. This guy is steering his car using just a spanner. Ever had a flat tire? That doesn't bother this truck driver. It might be a bumpy ride, but he's carrying on regardless. It also looks like the passenger might be holding the door on. Going one better is this minibus. The front left wheel might be hanging off, but it still seems to be driving like a dream. In fact, the driver finds it all rather hilarious. But our number 1 is this lorry. It might look fairly normal from behind, but a closer look reveals large parts of its right side are missing. And what about the cab? it's pretty much been destroyed. Despite this, the driver is still carrying on at 70 miles per hour. Time to get it off the road, I think, mate. Coming up, there's a time for relaxing, but this surely isn't it. We meet some of the Middle East's most chilled-out drivers, but some of the world's worst motorbike riders. We've already seen it doesn't matter where you are in the world.
Guess you're not driving the Ferrari.
Crashes can happen in all kinds of strange ways. But across the world, nearly all public roads have speed limits to try and control our driving. Germany's famous autobahns are some of the only exceptions. In fact, there are only 2 other places where drivers can go as quickly as they like. The Stuart Highway in Australia's Northern Territory has one 200-kilometre-long section with an open speed limit, while certain roads on the Isle of Man also have no speed limits. Generally, it's on the freeways that countries have their highest speed limit. Although some people, like this Mini in South Africa, will always ignore the rules. They got lucky and just managed to squeeze through that gap. You really don't want to make a mistake at high speeds. This crash near St. Petersburg shows one driver trying to overtake, but not noticing there's a central reservation. China has the world's longest motorway system, with over 123,000 kilometers of road. That's the equivalent of 3 times round the globe. It has a speed limit of 75 miles per hour, but some still break it. The people involved in this crash in China were lucky to escape serious injury. The dash cam in this minibus captures the moment the red car suddenly changes lanes as it rushes to get past the lorry. The contact flips them over and sees them slide across the road, sparks flying. But China also has a minimum speed limit on its motorways of just over 40 miles per hour, and you can see why when people seem to just stop in the fast lane. These coach passengers got quite a shock. It turns out the driver of the car has stopped to make a phone call. Missing your turning can be annoying if you have miles further to drive. But this truck driver chose to do a highly illegal U-turn on a motorway, even though he had to rearrange a roadblock. Once he creates the gap, though, will he have time to get through it before the traffic approaches? Just about. For this driver, rain wasn't the major issue. With vehicles changing lanes, it's always good to stay alert, especially in bad weather. When you want to pass other vehicles, it's always a good idea to have enough space. With the red truck in front, and this car where it is, I'd say there's no room for an overtake. This driver obviously thought differently. In the end, trying to change lanes saw this car come to a stop on its roof. The dangers of stopping on the motorway can really be seen in this dash cam footage. With a car in front having to quickly swerve around the black car that had stopped on the motorway, there was little chance of avoiding a collision. Remarkably, the driver had braked to read the signs above. The Middle East is an area covering 17 different countries with a population of over 370 million. But whereas for centuries they might have used camels to get around, now in countries like Egypt, they have drivers like this. This doesn't look like the best time for relaxing. Cairo might be home to 20 million people, 2 million cars and 23,500 miles of road, but this fella isn't worried about the city's notorious traffic problems. And if you think he's reckless, what about these motorbike riders? Well, it's probably more like one rider, and let's count them. 9 passengers. He can even do a wheelie. Although the man in yellow at the back doesn't look too happy about it. Of course, most people ride solo on a bike. Although surprisingly, up until 2012, it was illegal to own or ride a motocross bike in Israel. That law has since been rescinded, and it's become a hugely popular activity. But it looks like some people still need more practice. This dirt bike rider was also out enjoying the Israeli countryside. And unlike the previous guy, managing to avoid the ditches. But that didn't mean there weren't other dangers. A head-on with a quad bike isn't ideal. Luckily, both riders survived. Dubai is the world's fastest-growing city. 20% of all cranes operating on the planet can be found there. It's known for its sense of luxury, and cars are a big part of this. The Ferrari F12 Berlinetta in this video is worth around £250,000. It can reach speeds of over 200 miles per hour. But if you make a mistake, it's going to be one expensive mechanic's bill. The world's first motorbike was built in Germany in 1885. Since then, our love of whizzing around on 2 wheels has grown. Although this guy in Poland has found his Harley also helps him with the campfire. Motorbikes are generally known for their agility. As this rider in Romania would tell you, they can be quite nimble when something unexpected happens. After a black horse pulling a cart lunged across the road, she only just managed to avoid disaster. Such a near miss definitely requires a moment to compose yourself. In traffic, motorbikes can be great for finding gaps, as long as you don't misjudge it. For one young rider enjoying the buzz of racing along the streets of Moscow, pushing it this fast was always going to end badly. This wipeout damaged 6 other cars and put the rider in hospital. It's believed almost 60% of all the world's motorcycles are in Eastern Asia. When a larger vehicle isn't available, some people will use them to transport anything. Although carrying gas cylinders probably isn't a great idea. With so many bikes on the road, there's always the chance of crashing into another. This crash in the Philippines shows what can happen when one rider turns into the path of another at high speed. Of course, using a smaller vehicle, motorcyclists are vulnerable to the big beasts of the road. This man managed to jump off his bike just before it was crushed. If he hadn't, it's clear to see what could have happened. Being aware of everything around you is vital. Cutting across large trucks could be a huge mistake. This scooter driver can be seen turning left in front of a truck before being hit and falling to the ground. Somehow, he escaped being pulled under the wheels. The French are renowned as keen motorcyclists. There's certainly a romantic image of riding around Paris on two wheels. But with 28 million journeys being made on Parisian roads every day, it's one of Europe's busiest cities. For motorcyclists, it's important to always keep your wits about you. Watch out for pedestrians, cars, and scooters. This dramatic footage shows this rider being caught out by the scooter cutting across an intersection the wrong way. Fortunately, neither person was seriously injured. Coming up, we discover some of the world's worst parkers and find out what happens to this American dirt bike rider. From Massachusetts to Moscow, we've seen a whole load of crashes. Across the globe, our roads really can be full of surprises. When we're not simply trying to get from A to B, around the world, we like to use our vehicles to have a little fun. In New Zealand, this stunt driver showed some serious skills. It's not often you see a 4x4 doing a backflip. But once we start racing, there's always the chance drivers will push themselves too far. Add in some difficult terrain and some jumps, things can go wrong. This dirt track rider in America found himself going off course and eating mud.
Please get my bike off, please, that's it.
With some events, it's not a huge surprise when there's a crash. This race in New York is known as a high-stakes, no-brakes race, in which competitors use brakeless fixed-gear bikes. Once one person goes down, others will almost certainly follow. Rally car racing features some of the world's best drivers. Using real cars racing against the clock on real roads, it tests all their driving skills. And means crashes can be spectacular. This moment at the Hellendoorn Rally in the Netherlands saw one racer swing his Porsche round one corner, accelerate hard, only to lock his wheels and slam into a concrete barrier. This was one epic smash they'd never forget. Apart from organised sporting events, the only drivers allowed to speed on the roads are the emergency services. Sometimes, if there's a driver going the wrong way down a major road, they have to get involved. Eventually, the police stopped the rogue driver by slamming into them. Doing this could have prevented a much worse accident. At other times, an officer could be sat there on the lookout when a driver does this. Fortunately, despite the head-on, the officer suffered only minor injuries, and the other guy was arrested.
Just ask the ground units to verify the street.
When in actual pursuit of criminals, the chases can be compelling, and they're often all caught on camera.
Still northbound. Picking up the pace.
When they go really high speed, it helps to have an eye in the sky.
Let's yield to the helicopter. Still northbound. The curb lane. Northbound on wind lane.
This stolen car in Tulsa, Oklahoma, averaged 100 miles per hour as it raced past ordinary road users for 20 minutes.
Still northbound, almost collided. Another car, still northbound on Lynn Lane.
He narrowly missed several cars while running this red light.
Oh, geez, had him. Just missed a collision, but he's still eastbound on 11. Eastbound.
But eventually, he lost control as the chase came to a dramatic end.
Continuing eastbound. You're doing eastbound. Off the street, he's crashing. Going over. Relax, team, relax. You need to him some.
Of all the journeys to work made in the world, it's believed around 35% are on public transport. Many of those are on buses, where there's always something entertaining going on. Whether it's people dancing, or working out, it seems good to be prepared for the unexpected. Watch this bus driver in Malta's steering wheel. It's not looking so secure, and in fact, eventually comes off. But if it's not the bus falling apart, you need to beware of difficult passengers. This dispute over smoking inside the bus led to an all-out brawl. While this old lady became so annoyed that the ticket machine gave her the wrong change, she grabbed the steering wheel. After hitting the pavement, the impact saw one passenger break 3 ribs. The bus driver here has just asked this woman to move further inside the bus. An argument breaks out, but her next move seems rather reckless. Unbelievably, she decides to try and stamp on his brake. Forced to stop suddenly, passengers go flying. Unsurprisingly, the police were called and the woman was arrested. This man seems to be having a normal route. He might have had no angry passengers to deal with, but he didn't expect this. A metal pole smashing through the window and almost hitting him straight in the face. A different angle shows just how close the flying object also came to smacking the woman nearby. Looking out at the front of the bus, you can see the pole looming on the side of the road. It was apparently blown from a construction site after storms. The driver required stitches, but was lucky not to be seriously injured. For drivers all around the world, parking is one of the hardest maneuvers to pull off. With some vehicles, it's understandably tough. Misjudge it slightly, and things can go wrong. It's believed 1 in 5 urban crashes are related to a search for parking. In the Russian city of Saratov, this person appears to be trying to leave this parking space. She manages to hit the red car to her left. Take a moment to think about it, and then accelerate into the shop ahead. That was probably a better end result than this driver had in Shanghai. Trying to park by the river, this driver stepped on the wrong pedal and went flying into the water, almost hitting a cargo boat. Luckily, they weren't hurt and managed to escape. For some, reversing into a space can be just as tricky. This is some pretty poor parking. They nearly ended up right on top of passers-by, with one woman getting a brick shower. Fortunately, no one was seriously injured. If you do manage to park your car correctly, you can't always guarantee it's a legal parking space. But when the tow truck comes along, most people don't do this. In Chicago, the owner of this white car was determined to stop his vehicle from being impounded. In China, one parking lot sparked a sexism row when it introduced extra wide parking spaces for women. But check out this male driver, who could definitely have done with some assistance. Let's keep a tally of his attempts to leave. You should probably watch out for that car next to you, eh? No, really, you're hitting it. Quite a lot. Oh, this time he's gonna make it. Oh, I think he's done it this time. Maybe not. I think he still might be trying to leave now. Come on, mate. Can't go on all night. Maybe he should get the bus next time.